Hey, Jonathan here. Let's go ahead and create interior spaces as we are learning modeling basics in Archicad. Let's do it. Alright, so using the file provided, let's double click on the ground floor and let's move down to the row about the 4 exercise. Here we're going to go piece by piece, and we should be, by the end of this, you should be able to generate spaces using parametric objects like walls, slabs, and roofs. Alright, let's start with the walls. Let's go to the ground floor as we just did, and we have already set up the trace reference for you so that you can just get started straight away. And then we're going to set up the wall command. We're going to start with a favorite, generic interior wall, and we're going to adjust the following settings, which is, first of all, it's going to say the layer we're going to use in this case is going to be called project variant. Project variant, the geometry method, we're going to click and hold so that we can do a box. Then we're gonna note that we're going to be working on the outside face. We're also going to change its height. When the bottom is 0, the top should be first story or home plus 1. This sets how high this is, basically not allowing you to say how high it is, but there's going to be a parameter that Archicad knows how high is the first floor. So we're just going to trust it. And then the wall thickness, we're going to change it to 0.5. All right. Once we have it, we click once here and check if we are going to be drawing properly. And as you can see, we are not. So don't try to understand everything straight away. Just click and try, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Now, there's a couple of ways to change this. Either stop the command and start again, or you can here flip it, because we are on the outside face. Then we click here, and now we have the walls. Next up is the first floor. Now we're going to go up 1 floor on the project map. And here we are going to make sure that we see the lower floor. Here what we're going to do is to make sure that we're one on top of each other, we're going to select it, Command copy. We're going to go up 1 floor, and we're going to go Command V to paste. Now the paste command in Archicad works like this. By default, it lands at its spot, and then you get this little dotted line around it, meaning that if you click inside, you can move it. But if you click outside of it, you're basically saying, I like the position. And then it's there. Now we know for a fact that they're one on top of each other without having to start opening tracing or who knows what. Funny enough, when I show you how high it is, you're going to notice that it's no longer 270, it's now 230 high, because the height of the next level is set to that height. So when we go check the 3D, or when you go check the 3D, you'll notice how 2 walls that were the same suddenly have 2 different heights. And that is because it's hidden in the story settings, which we explained in a video that you can see in the script right now. All right, so next up is we're going to do the roof. For this, we're going to move on to the 3D model. For that, we take on the marquee tool. Make sure that you get the example and the one you're working on. Press down the F4 key to go into the 3D window. Let's close the solid element operations window, which we don't need. And again, if I see nothing, it's because the model is somewhere else, and I click fit to window. Now here we can see where we are, and we can check the 3D models. So now that we are on the 3D, we see that something is not right. Now ours is correct and this one is not. It's very crucial that you always start either with our favorites or a favorite from Archicad, so that you only change what you need and the rest should be default. That is the concept, and that is why I'm always saying to start with the favorite. So now I'm going to select one. Notice how I can only select 1 wall, so I'm select all of it. There is one setting that we need to check, and it's a little bit hidden, and I'll show you about it. We're going to select all of the walls and go into the settings dialog and show you about this other setting that is important, which is what's the home offset? What's the distance between the floor definition and the end of the wall? And here it should be 0, but it is 0.20, or it should be whatever it needs to be for you. For me, it's important that you understand where this is, because this is crucial now. So we go 0, so that it always goes to the floor, and then both of the walls should reach the same height. When I go and check the example, you'll see that both of them have 0, 0. And that is how that works. Let's keep going to the roof. Now we go to the toolbox, we start the roof command. Again, we start with a favorite. We start with generic roof, which is the closest one we have here. Double click and we adjust the following settings. First of all, we're going to change from single plane to multi-plane. And then I'm going to here, construction method to rotated rectangle, hip gable. Meaning that in yours, it should be looks like this, but make sure that you pick this one right here. Next up is a structure, which we never want this one. We always work with the simple structure. And the third one is make sure that the structure material is set to ST00, which is, you won't see it now, it's going to go outside of the screen, but I'll show you the name. It's ST00 generic structural. That is the same one the walls have. In this case, they don't, because it's been from a favorite. So this on the walls, we're also going to select them and go and select ST00 generic structural. And that's how we end up having the same color. We're then going to keep changing some parameters here. Remember, we're parametric modeling. The overhang, we're going to set it to 0. The roof edges, roof edge angle, we're going to change it to a set amount that we're then going to change to 45 degrees. Then we're going to set the home story to ground floor. In this case, it's not letting me. That is because I'm on 3D window. So let's leave it for now. We'll change that later. And then we should just be able to model this to see what happens. Now rotated rectangle would be like this. And we see it went onto the other direction. Then we go back, Command C, and then we try to we start on a different corner. And then we should have the correct orientation. Now we're going to select it and try to finish all the settings that we told you about. The home should be second story, that is correct. We also need to change its height to project 4.9 meters, reference to project 0. Then when you change project 0, then this amount changes again. So then we go back to 4.9. Now there's different ways to do this. You could have just done this intuitively, just moving it around or measuring it. But for now, it's more than fine. Then we're going to finish the element, making it look neat by applying a solid volume operation from the roof to the walls. And for that, I'm going to show you another trick, which is Alt-G. I'm going to go Alt-G, meaning the suspend groups are now all together. Notice how now I can click on one wall and they all come together. I select all of them at the same time. That is great. That is thanks to Alt-G. If I want to select only one wall, then I can go to Alt-G for suspended groups option. Now that I have it, I'm going to change their height to whatever is higher than the roof. I'll show you why. We're going to go here. We're going to change the linked stories, top and bottom. We want to change here to not linked. And then it frees me up this value, which I now am going to go and say 6 meters. Doesn't really matter. It's important that it's really high. That's all. Now we're going to start with solid element operations again. And then we select the walls are the target. The roof is the operator. And here it's not only subtraction, but we want to subtract from the point of entry all the way up. So that's going to be with upward extrusion. So we're extruding the subtraction. We go execute and we should have it exactly as I did. Now the only thing I see that it's not correct or the same would be the pitch. We change here to 100% and then keep custom. And then we should get the equivalent of 45 degrees. I don't know why it says percentage here. You can change that here. You can also set it to degrees and then you get the 45. You click here and there's always another option somewhere. It's important. All right, so that covers that one. Let's keep going. Next up is the ground floor windows. Let's go onto the ground floor again and move on to the exercise 4.2. Here we're going to model windows using the window command. Now don't get scared, we're not going to do something very complex. It's basically just an empty opening. So let's start by going to the toolbox and clicking on the window tool. Here we're going to go straight into this dialog, settings dialog. Close everything so that you know what's going on. And we're going to click on empty opening because we won't be working with normal windows right now. So click on empty opening and then preview and positioning. You can change a couple of parameters because we know how big the windows are. So we can just enter them. 1 meter width, tab, 2 meters high, and sill is going to be 0.15, which is 15 centimeters from the ground zero. We'll click OK, and then we can select the geometry method we want to. We can either click the middle of the window, the side of the window, or the other side of the window. And now, where I'm supposed to see one, but I'm seeing the wrong one, we're going to reset the default position of the trace reference. I'm going to zoom out to show you what happens when I click on reset. And then everything moves back to the original spot. We are now able to model the windows one by one. I'm just going to do one and let you do the rest. The same goes to the one upstairs, which you should only go all the way up in the 3D window and do that one. For the first story settings, you can check that out directly on the 3D. Now, important here is for you to know that we can now then set up these windows we did. You can intuitively change them in the 3D window as we saw on the example. And then you can move them around and adjust them to really match what you're looking for. Ground floor. Next up are the slabs. The slab, we're going to start the slab command the same way we always do. We start with the favorite that closest goes to ours. In this case, it's going to be the generic slab. We can set the layer to project variant so that everything has the same layer. We're then going to the geometry method tool box, then reference plane at the top. We're going to change its structure to basic and make sure that the material is always the same, ST00 generic structural. Once done that, you can then click one time here, one time there, you have a slab. You move up one floor from the project map, you click again and again, and then you go on the 3D window to check what happened. Now in this case, I'm not seeing everything, so I have to right click and say show all. And this is why we always work with the marquee, but you can still check it out in the 4.4, which is what we did. So here you can see the example. Notice how it's properly done. You can also suspend the group so to select only the slab. Now, sometimes it just really doesn't want to do what you're looking for. At the beginning, it's okay if it doesn't look exactly the same. Note and think about if this is relevant or not. If we want to 3D print it, it's not relevant. So now we can select it, move on to the 5th exercise, go F4 to isolate, save as, then tell it that we want to store it in the desktop. Let's call it interior spaces. Select stereolithography, click save, and we're going to set the scale to 200. We click save, and then we should have this one, which is ready to 3D print. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.